The first day this pervert was released from prison, he immediately set his sights on a 13-year-old girl. Daisy sensed the danger and instinctively quickened her pace. Unfortunately, the man kept following her closely. Daisy was terrified, so she desperately ran into the church. She hoped to find her friend Anna, and Daisy thought to herself, with so many people here, the man should give up following her. But little did she know, the man followed her into the church. Daisy was now completely panicked. Fear washed over her like a tidal wave. After the church event ended, Daisy grabbed her friend's hand and begged her to take her home. But the pervert still hadn't given up. He was preparing to follow them again. Fortunately, Pastor David noticed the strange man, and he stepped forward to stop him. David thought the man was a new church member, so he warmly invited him to stay for a coffee. The man pretended to agree and acted relaxed, but inside, he was already growing impatient. However, due to the pastor's enthusiasm, he had no choice but to temporarily abandon his pursuit of Daisy. David handed him a set of clothes. Then he asked him his name with a smile. The man casually replied that his name was Jack. When Jack saw David pull out a notebook and prepare to register his information, he immediately stiffened with fear. He quickly explained that he was just passing by and had no intention of joining the church. But David, eager to recruit new members, pretended he hadn't heard the explanation. He even took out his phone and snapped a photo of Jack. He quickly printed the photo and planned to add it to the church's guestbook. Little did David know that this seemingly casual action would bring a disaster to Daisy. At that moment, David's phone rang. He stood up and walked outside the church to answer it. Once David left, Jack's gaze instantly turned vicious. He stared at the family photo on the table, his eyes filled with malice. When David returned after the call, Jack grabbed the clothes from the table and rushed toward the door. He lied, saying he had already filled out the registration form, but David still wanted to keep this new member. He even bent down to help Jack put on his shoes. But at that moment, David saw the electronic ankle bracelet on Jack's leg. David froze. The atmosphere suddenly became awkward and tense. Jack, in a panic, hurriedly put on his shoes. David stood still, his mind racing. He felt he should muster the courage and stop Jack. David wanted him to stay and talk more, but Jack still didn't care. He just looked back at him briefly and kept walking. When David saw Jack not responding, he felt a wave of disappointment, but his desire to compete for the position of head pastor forced him to ignore everything. However, when he picked up the registration form to check, it was completely blank. Jack had filled out nothing. David suddenly felt a wave of frustration. Little did he know, even bigger problems awaited him. That night, his wife suddenly called. Her voice was tearful on the other end. She said their son had gone missing. A teacher saw a strange man taking their child away. His wife suspected that the child had been kidnapped. David instantly panicked. His mind went blank. At that moment, the roof suddenly started leaking. Cold rain dripped steadily onto Jack's photo. The person in the photo had a sinister look, almost as if mocking him.